Hey everyone, I'm Cary Smith with Client First Capital, and I'm sitting here with Amar Shah. Amar, here's what's been on my mind. I retired from, a 35-year career in financial services about 15 months ago. Now, I'm not fully retired. I'm continuing to work and continuing to contribute and being involved. However, once I made that step, I started thinking more about, well, how do I do my withdrawals in retirement? Once I get to the point that, I'm no longer producing income and I'm living off my savings and the investments over the years, you know, what does that strategy look like? I have a lot of friends who are in the same position. Some of them have already started to make withdrawals, others are planning. And I hear a lot of different strategies out there on how to do it. So I thought this might be a really good discussion, for us to have on the strategies people use. I know that you've helped a lot of people take this step from,
Yeah.
working and producing income and living off of those investments. And so let me just open it up to you to talk about some of the withdrawal strategies.
Yeah, I mean there's a ton of different strategies out there, right? Some people just take the profit each year of their investments and just say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to live off of this year," right? Um, which can be hard because sometimes your profit could be a lot, sometimes it could be nothing. It doesn't mean you're going to live off of nothing, right? So
Right.
so that there are various concepts out there, but I think for the main part, these concepts fall into three main categories, right? One of which is to see if I can do this right. Um, there we go. Hopefully you can see my screen, right, Carrie?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, perfect. So like one idea is just to take a fixed dollar amount each year, right? So you may want to factor this with inflation, but you could say, hey, for the next 5 years, I'm going to withdraw X dollar amount out each year, and then reassess in 5 years what can you take out for the next 5 years. This is a good way because it kind of helps you plan, right? You know what your cash flow is going to be like. So if you want to take these trips that's on your bucket list and stuff like that, you can kind of budget that in. Um, However, the withdrawal rate and the stress on your portfolio changes every year. And what I mean by that is like if you have an up year and let's just say you have $1 million invested, you get 4%. All right, you know you haven't touched into principal, so most of the times you can be okay. But what if you lost 10% and then you're still taking 40,000 out, you know, on that portfolio? Um, that adds stress to a portfolio, right? And that's something that you know people tend to forget on how that stress can impact them because it won't impact you today, but it'll be several years from now, right?
Right.
The second way, the second main bucket is like a fixed percentage. We've all heard of the 4% rule. Um, Depending on how old you are, you may take 5, 6, 8%, depending on what stage of life you are in, or that percentage that you're withdrawing can adjust. But essentially, you're taking your 1231 balance and say, hey, I'm going to take X percentage out per year. Well, this will help you in terms of longevity of that portfolio and the stress on the portfolio that we just talked about earlier. But the downside is it's hard to plan because every year there's a different dollar amount that you're getting, right? And you don't want the market fluctuations to determine, how your next best decade will be based off how much you can spend, right?
Right.
And then the third bucket, and this is the bucket which I think most advisors would go towards, is kind of creating some alignment between what you want to do in retirement and how you want to live your life and those experiences that you want, factoring that into your plan and getting some systematic withdrawal plan that aligns your plan to your goals, right? So we want to have experiences that are important to you mirrored with um, uh, the financial experiences that you're having to mirror with your actual budget and your withdrawal rate, right? And the way that we control portfolio stress with this as an advisor is to say, all right, let's say we start with X amount, we're going to want to end up with the safety margin of X amount. Right? What is the pathway to get us there? What is the probability of success that we need to achieve in our financial planning to make sure that we have a certainty of success to get there? And for everybody, that could be different, right? If you have family and you want a large safety margin, you have legacy goals, that safety margin may be like 90%, 95%. If you don't have any legacy goals or don't have any children or anything else like that, and you have long-term care insurance and you feel you're covered for yourself and essentially want to bounce the last paycheck, well, that could be a probability of success of 50% because you'll live the best next decade, but then you know that there's potential changes that you may have to make later on down the road.
Yeah, Amar, so something else that comes to mind, I didn't hear you bring this up because, we're talking about withdrawals and we're not necessarily talking about taxes, but it seems like a really good tax strategy is the equivalent of spending less, right? Or the equivalent of having more to spend. And so just your thoughts on the importance of tax planning here.
Yeah. Taxes are like a drag on your portfolio, right? Because essentially taxes are an additional expense that you're withdrawing out of your portfolio. And so if you spend less, then potentially you could have less taxes. But that can also not be true because your withdrawal strategy and your tax plan strategy don't necessarily need to line up. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're withdrawing a very little dollar amount now on an annual basis, and so then you're in a lower tax bracket. And then once R&Ds kick in, that could push you into a new tax bracket. Whereas you could be taking some from your IRA now, still stay in the same tax rate that you're in today, and then the extra withdrawals later in life don't have to be so large, right?
Yeah,
And impact your family.
I would say taxes aren't just a drag on your portfolio. Taxes are just a drag.
Right.
And so, hey, but Amar, here's kind of, so thank you for this discussion. It helps me personally, but here's kind of what I'm hearing you say, although we didn't really say it, is behind all of these strategies, it's important to have a plan, right? It's important to know what your budget is, to know what your financial plan is, to know what your goals are, right? And in most cases, I think it's best to sit down with a professional, right, and make sure that you have that plan in place. And that's one of the things that we do at Client First Capital. It's one of the things that you are especially skilled at with your clients. And so, maybe we close on just the importance of reaching out to someone and having a plan. And if you've not done that yet, or you feel like you need a second opinion, or have just someone look at your plan, maybe you reach out to us at Client First Capital.
Yeah, and I think the big thing there that maybe that people may feel confident in what they're doing, but a lot of people don't feel confident, right? And they may have that question mark, and we can help create some certainty so that you feel confident and comfortable spending the money while you're able to, right?
That's
Essentially.
right.
Also, we got this awesome YouTube channel. Please subscribe. And then also we have a newsletter that comes out once a month. Our next edition is coming out in January. If you like this type of content, please feel free to go to our website to subscribe. Thank you, Cary.
Thanks, Amar. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.